Hello, Marcus. Hello, Lennon. Hello, Stella. I want to tell you a story about a young man called Robinson Crusoe. Now, Robinson Crusoe was a young boy who lived with his mammy and his daddy up in a country called Scotland, which is way up past England. And his mammy and daddy brought him up, and he did very well. And his daddy wanted him to be a doctor. But Robinson Crusoe, he didn't want to be a doctor. All he ever wanted to do was sail away on a big ship way out into the sea so he could see all the new places in the world. Way down, way across the far side of the world, he dreamed about seeing all these foreign places, all these difficult places that nobody else could get to. He wanted to get there because he wanted to see lions, he wanted to see tigers, he wanted to see big eagles flying in the sky, he wanted to see big, huge whale fish and dolphins, and he did not want to be a doctor. But his mammy and daddy were not too happy about this. One day, when he was 16 years of age, he said to his mammy and daddy, "I'm going off to get a job on a big ship. I'm going down to London. I'm going to get a job on a big ship, and I'm going to sail all around the world. And then, when I learn how to sail the big ship and I see the captain, I am then going to come back and I am going to get a job and I am going to be the captain of the big ship." So one day, he didn't tell his mammy and daddy. He got up out of bed in the middle of the night and he walked down and he waited till first thing early in the morning, and he got the train, the locomotive train, and went all the way down the tracks, way down, until he came to London Port. And when he came to London Port, he was only a young boy, and all the big ships were there. And he saw this captain standing on the side, and he said, "My name is Robinson Crusoe. Will you give me a job working on your ship?" And the captain said, "What can you do on my ship? You don't know anything about ships." And Robinson Crusoe said, "Well, you're right. I don't know anything about ships, but I am very willing to learn. If you give me a job, I will scrub all the decks, hoist all the sails. I will make the tea and the dinner for all the sailors. I will clean the kitchens." So the captain said, "Okay, come on, get on the ship, because we're sailing tomorrow morning." So Robinson had his bag with his clothes and all his few little things he had, and he jumped onto the big ship and he got ready to sail the next day. And where were they sailing? He did not know, but they were going far across, out into the deep sea. Robinson was a bit frightened when he heard all the waves. Anyway, he went on. They went on and they went on and they went on for a long time. And the sun was lovely and the birds were flying all around, and you could look over the side of the ship, and what could you see? You could see dolphins swimming, and then you could, every now and then in the distance, you could see a big whale, and then there was flying fish, and they had plenty to eat, plenty to drink. But there was a slight problem. The captain wasn't a really, really nice captain. He wasn't a nice man at all. So Robinson did not like the way the captain treated and looked after the rest of the crew. He didn't give them enough to drink. He didn't give them enough to eat. So Robinson was very unhappy about this. Anyway, they sailed away across the big sea. And then one night they were sailing across the sea and it was really, really dark. And suddenly that sound came again, and it was the sound of the storm in the sea. Waves were crashing over the side of the ship. The captain couldn't see where he was going. Nobody could see him. Really dark. Next thing, crash! The ship hit a rock. Didn't know where they were. Out in the middle of the sea. Except the ship hit a big rock. Crashed onto the rock. And the ship broke up everywhere. And everybody was thrown off the ship, and they did not know what to do, where to go. But Robinson Crusoe, he grabbed a big, huge piece of wood, and he fell into the water, but he held on tightly to the piece of wood. And he was floating in the sea, and it was still very stormy. But he held on, and he was really tired, and then eventually he fell asleep, but he held on. And he ended up on the beach in the sand on this island. Now, he didn't know it was an island. He didn't know where he was. He was on this island. And he woke up and he could feel the sand. And the sun was starting to come down. It was nice and warm. And the sea, the waves were just coming in like Castletown, like the beach down there, just. And he looked and he said, "Oh, I'm safe. Where am I?" He did not know where he was. So he got up and he walked up the beach, and he was hungry now. He was really hungry, and he had nothing to eat. But he looked up and he saw these coconut trees, and on the top of these trees were big, huge coconuts, big ones. So he said, "Oh, they're coconuts. If I could climb up the tree and knock down the coconut, I would have something to eat." So he found a stick and he held it in his hand and he climbed up the tree and up the tree and up the tree and up the tree. And he smacked the coconut. Coconuts fell on the ground. He got back down the tree, picked up the coconut, smashed it with the stick, opened it up, and there was lovely coconut milk and coconut flesh and everything, and it was really nice. So now he knew he had something to eat. So he thought, well, that's okay, I have something to eat. I have to find somewhere to sleep. So he looked around and he saw these branches of trees and he saw these big bushes. So he said, if I make all these big trees, bend all the branches and put all the leaves on top, I will be able to make myself a little house. So he made himself a little house with all the trees, and he went inside and he fell asleep. And when he woke the next morning, he looked out and it was a lovely beach and the sea was really nice. And then he said, I wonder what happened to my ship. I came into this beach here. So we walked all the way down the beach, all the way down, climbed over the secret island, climbed over all the rocks. And then, further down the beach, he saw the shipwreck. He saw the wreck of his ship. What was left? There was no one left, but there were some pieces of the ship shipwrecked up on the rocks. So he went down, he climbed down onto the rocks, but he was able to get a knife, he was able to get a gun. There was a gun and gunpowder in a barrel. And he said, oh, that's good. So he brought all them onto the shore. And he dragged them all the way back to where he was staying. But on the way back, he found a cave, a secret cave. And he said, oh, that would make a great house. So he took all his stuff, took all his branches and put it front and built this thing. And he was able to live in the cave. And then he heard a noise. And in the jungle, he saw a goat. He said, oh, there are goats. So he went in and he waited and he waited and he waited. And he caught this goat. And then another goat came and he caught that goat. So now he had 2 goats, a cave, he had his gunpowder, he had a gun, and he had a knife. So he brought them all back to the cave. And he was waiting and waiting and waiting. And he said, oh, I will never get off this island. What am I going to do? And I'm going to be here all on my own for ever, ever, ever. And then one day he heard a noise. And he didn't know what it was. So he ran all the way down the beach and he hid behind a rock and he looked. And he saw these men. He didn't know where they came from. But they must have been pirates. And they had one man and they had him captured. And it wasn't, he didn't know what to do. They didn't know. No, he ran back and he got the gun. And when the men had this one man, he fired the gun up in the air. And the men all looked and let the man go. And the man started running off into the jungle, up towards where Robinson Crusoe was. And the men ran off and got onto a little boat and went away. And he never saw them again. So he went to look for the man that ran away. And he found him. And the man was very frightened. He was a black man. And he was very frightened. But Robinson found him and said, what happened? And he said, oh, he couldn't speak English, but he told him he really was thanked to Robinson that he got away from the bold men. So because he found him on Friday, Robinson called him Man Friday. So he brought Man Friday back to his cave. And he gave him some coconut milk and he gave him some goat's milk and he had him there and he became best friends. So he said to Man Friday, we have to go up to the high hill and get everything ready to make a big fire with the gunpowder, because if a ship comes by and we look out all the way out to sea and we can see the ship, we need to set a big fire so all the smoke goes up and the captain will be able to see there's somebody on the island and they might come and collect us. So they did that. So Man Friday went up and he brought all the stuff up, made a big mountain of stuff that they could make a big fire if they ever saw a ship. But they never saw a ship. No ships came. Then one day, Man Friday came running down. He said, Robinson, Robinson, look. And there out at sea was a big cruise ship. Big ship. So Robinson said, quick, run up that mountain. Get the gunpowder, light it, and start a big fire. So they ran up and started a big fire. And the smoke, loads of smoke and flames were going way up in the sky. And then they were looking out. And the captain on the cruise ship, he saw it with his binoculars and he said, there is a big fire on the island. There must be somebody there. We might have to go and rescue them. So they put the small boat into the water and they rowed over to the island. And Man Friday and Robinson Crusoe were waving and waving. And they saw them. They brought them back on the little boat, put them on that big ship, and they sailed all the way back to London. And then Robinson Crusoe got off the boat and then he went all the way onto the train and he waited to get the train all the way up to Scotland. But his mammy and daddy had not seen him for such a long time. They thought he was gone and he would never come back. And then one day, he got off the train, walked from the train station to his mammy and daddy's house and went, knocked on the door, and they opened the door and said, "Oh, Robinson Crusoe." "Yes, mammy, yes, daddy, I'm home. Wait till I tell you what happened to me." And then he told them the story of everything that happened to him on the island, and they all lived happily ever after. So, good night, Marcus. Good night, Lennon. And good night, Stella. Bye-bye.